Salt has been demonized by conventional medicine and popular culture as the absolute villain of water retention and hypertension. However, from the perspective of integrative health and functional nutrition, we need to refine this analysis. The problem we face today is not sodium itself, but the systematic absence of accompanying minerals that should balance its presence in our body. Cellulite, from this viewpoint, is not just an accumulation of fat, but an external sign of a profound mineral imbalance. When we look at our legs and arms and notice edema and skin irregularities, we are observing the result of a cellular biochemistry that has lost its capacity for self-regulation. The goal of this video is to provide you with the technical understanding of how swapping a basic ingredient in your kitchen can alter the osmotic pressure of your cells and promote an immediate reduction in swelling, restoring your autonomy over your aesthetic and functional health. To understand this transformation, we must analyze the chemistry behind what we put on our plates. Refined salt, the common table salt found in most pantries, is the product of an aggressive industrial process. During refining, salt is washed and heated to extremely high temperatures so that only pure sodium chloride remains, usually at a concentration of 99%. In this process, all essential minerals, such as magnesium, potassium, calcium, and sulfur, are stripped away to be sold separately by the chemical industry. What remains is an isolated chemical reagent, often supplemented with anti-caking agents like sodium ferrocyanide to prevent clumping. This isolated sodium, when it enters the bloodstream, behaves aggressively. Because it lacks its original mineral matrix, it robs water from the tissues to try to balance itself, creating a silent inflammation in the subcutaneous tissue that severely aggravates the appearance of cellulite. Biophysics explains this phenomenon through the concept of osmolarity. Our cell membranes are semi-permeable and constantly trying to maintain a concentration balance between the internal and external environments. When we consume refined salt, the concentration of sodium in the fluid that bathes the cells, the interstitium, rises drastically. According to the law of osmosis, water tends to move toward where there is more solute. The result is that water moves out of the vessels and cells into the space between them, creating what we call interstitial edema. Imagine your skin like a sponge. When it is saturated with stagnant fluid due to this excess sodium, it swells, compresses the lymphatic vessels, and prevents the drainage of toxins. It is precisely this hydraulic pressure that forces fat against the skin, highlighting the dimples of cellulite. At the heart of this cellular metabolism, we find a fundamental structure called the Sodium-Potassium Pump, or scientifically, the $K+K+$Hase enzyme. This pump is responsible for maintaining the cell's electricity, pumping sodium out and pulling potassium in. However, there is a technical detail that most people are unaware of. This pump is magnesium dependent. Magnesium acts as the cofactor, the true fuel that allows this protein to function correctly. Since refined salt is devoid of magnesium, excessive consumption of it paralyzes the pump. Without mineral fuel, sodium begins to accumulate inside the cell, and where sodium goes, water follows. The fat cell then increases in volume, not from fat, but from internal water intoxication. By transitioning to Himalayan pink salt or unrefined sea salt, you are providing the cell with the magnesium and potassium necessary to reactivate this pump, allowing the cell to finally exhale excess fluid and reduce its size. Beyond the cellular pump, the presence of more than 80 trace minerals found in whole salts has a direct impact on the viscosity of your lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is the body's sewage service, responsible for collecting metabolic waste. When the body is demineralized and saturated with refined salt, the lymph becomes thick and sluggish. Toxins accumulate, creating fibrosis in the septa that hold the fat, which makes cellulite painful and difficult to treat with external massages alone. Whole salt acts as a fluidity agent. The potassium and sulfur present in these natural varieties help break up this stagnation, allowing the lymphatic system to flow freely. By improving lymphatic circulation through mineralization, you remove the cause of the internal pressure that deforms the skin's surface. In functional nutrition practice, the conscious replacement of salt must be accompanied by a careful look at labels. True whole salt is slightly damp and possesses colors ranging from gray to pink, indicating the presence of active mineral sediments. By adopting this new habit, many health enthusiasts notice a significant reduction in sugar cravings. This happens because the body, when properly mineralized, stabilizes insulin spikes. Cellulite responds to this change almost immediately, as the body stops retaining fluids defensively. It is essential, however, to ensure the purity of the water that accompanies this consumption, so that minerals can be transported and toxins properly filtered by the kidneys without the overload of isolated sodium. Ultimately, the transition from refined salt to whole salt represents the achievement of autonomy through technical knowledge. You stop being a victim of dietary restrictions and become the manager of your own biochemistry. Cellulite, under this new perspective, ceases to be a genetic flaw and is instead seen as a biomarker of hydration and mineralization. By nourishing your cells with the correct mineral matrix, you restore your body's capacity for natural drainage. The transformation of skin texture and the reduction of swelling are merely the visible consequences of a body that has regained its electrolytic balance. Remember, lasting beauty is always the reflection of a metabolism that functions at its mineral peak.